this is exciting to me because I've been coming here several times and laying down some footage, and it's been remarkable. And this whole team in the studio is just super. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see if I've got some. Pay you a little tip for that.
Give me that tip. Well, but we were brainstorming, and it was really last week when I got the virtual keynote thing,
Right.
just a little demo.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how many people said, "Oh my gosh, is that you, Jane, with the makeup?" No, they loved it. They just loved it, Chuck. So I appreciate that. So.
Well, you made it easy. Okay, so let's just be honest.
You made it come to life. That's the thing. Your team is amazing. And so what we chatted about is, I don't know about you, but I think everybody started out when COVID hits, I don't know what to do. And I was frustrated because I didn't want to invest in a studio in my home. So I was thinking, what can be done? And you had such great ideas. And then we decided to test the waters. Sure. With the power women, just to see what they would think. Because I think now clients are realizing we got to get this thing going. Okay, so I wanted to share with you to ask, how could this work for folks to come in here? Tell us how.
Okay, well, the first thing, and I'm not saying this, I hope the people understand when they hear it, the spirit in which I'm saying it, but we all kind of became handicapped at the same time.
We did.
All of a sudden, COVID hit. And we're sitting here and speaking engagements start to drop. And then they were going to be like, well, maybe late summer, maybe this fall. Yeah. Then maybe it's spring of 2021. And then we're getting now people saying, look, we're just going to have a virtual event either this year or next year. And the question that started to arise for most of us is, what am I going to do? Because it seems like we have three choices. Stick our head in the sand and hope it's going to return to normal, and nothing will ever be completely normal.
Yes.
2, we say, okay, well, there's Zoom. Gosh, I wish I had stock in Zoom back in October.
No kidding.
But, there's Zoom. We can try to create our virtual environment, which functionally means it's my head in a screen with my bookcase behind me, or maybe a green screen behind me, and Hawaii or whatever, but it's a talking head. Or we have to embrace virtual and say, what can it be? And I know you have. I most certainly have had speaking engagements when I really wanted it to be amazing, but the amount of money in a live event that they were willing to spend for the AV team was acceptable, but not amazing.
Right.
And we worked with what we had to. But in virtual, you can do anything.
Yeah.
It can be literally anything. If you can make your mind think about it, you can create it.
Right.
So in talking with a lot of meeting planners, especially association meeting planners, they're as confused as we are.
Yes. That's true.
The annual meeting got canceled, or it's gone virtual somehow. We don't have the same number of attendees. The vendors are like, what in the world are we going to do? We want to be in front of all of your association members so we can sell our products, but we don't know how to do that. And then every speaker, no disrespect, looks like every other speaker because we all have the same computer screen with a really nice Yeti mic or whatever it happens to be, and it's the same look.
Right.
So the thing that we're starting to find is, if we're willing to embrace, let me do my presentation with just imagination running wild, what could it be? Now that's one part. The other part is, for both of us, as keynoters, we will hop on an airplane, we fly to the venue the night before, we check everything out, we go do the presentation, maybe a breakout session, we go to catch another flight, to go to another place, or to come back home, and so functionally 2 to 3 days has been used, and we do these programs over and over again.
Right.
Well, if we do these programs over and over again, why can't we record them once and sell them over and over again? Because in virtual, one of the challenges, and I know you've had this because we've talked about it, is the meeting planner thinks it has to be live.
Oh, I know. Oh.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, we want you there. Why? Well, because that's the way we've always done it when it was live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you could risk there's a thunderstorm, the power goes out. What if I lose my internet connection? How am I going to be reconnected to the internet? And how am I going to be able to deliver this virtually? And it can become a nightmare.
Oh, I'm telling you. It just makes my heart pound just thinking about it because we're not in control with all these external elements like you're saying.
I mean, in a live event, you and I, we had control to some
we could
extent.
just ad lib.
We had control over getting there as long as airplanes were flying.
Right.
Okay. And we could get on stage and literally, if everything went out, we could still speak.
Yeah.
There was still a mouth.
Right.
We could walk around. Now, admittedly, if it was in the dark, that might be a little different experience, but we'd probably make some fun of it and figure out how to salvage the meeting.
Right.
But in the virtual world, that's a problem. So from your conversation kind of started this...
Well, we just didn't know if it was going to catch on, and when I posted that, I had so many people going, please get me in on that Zoom call.
Right.
So logistically speaking, what you would like to see happen would be some of the interested people coming to Greenville and recording, right?
So here's
I'm not trying to get ahead of you now.
No, but that's exactly right. What would happen is let's get out of our head what we think virtual is and make it what it could be. And I'll give you a perfect example. Sometimes blind squirrels find an acorn. You know what I'm talking about from the South. So Meredith Elliott Powell had a meeting planner that wanted her to do an opening and closing keynote.
Right.
She suggested that it be recorded. And they were open to the idea. It was like, okay, well, that's cool. So she came in and we recorded this opening and closing keynote. And because it was virtual and recorded, we could add all kinds of things into it to really bring it to life. Almost like you would see it on Amazon Prime or Netflix.
And back to your point, at the Zoom, you're just staring at a screen and nothing's going on. And so this way, it's action, it's fun, it's engaging. What you add the graphics, which I love.
Right. What happened with Meredith, which I think was one of those eye-opening accidents, at least accident for me, was so we recorded it, she took it, now she's selling it over and over again to other organizations that want that program. And kind of the way she put it to me was, look, Chuck, I could be playing golf. And somebody could be showing my program. I've sold it. I've made money from it. I'm out on the golf course. My program is taking place. And it was like, So one thing that could take place is let's create virtual content, but so powerful that people will want to buy it. I had another Hall of Fame speaker talk with me this morning. We're recording his content on the 3rd of August, but he has told me this morning, he said, I've already sold it 9 times.
Oh my gosh.
And it hasn't been recorded yet.
Oh, yes.
And he said, so I'm finding out that there's a market for content, and it doesn't have to be me sitting there in the moment live, because if I sell it to them, they now have the content, so it takes away some of the risk associated with what happens virtually. Now, I'm gonna switch gears, Jane.
Okay.
So at Primeau Productions, we sat back and said, wow, we're talking to a lot of associations that are scratching their heads and don't have a clue what to do. Now, if you're SHRM, you got a budget. You can hire an amazing organization to come out and really do something that's spectacular. But if you're a smaller association in a state or a state chapter of a national association, and you're sitting there thinking, wow, our annual meeting just got canceled. Vendors are screaming they don't know what to do. Members are considering not renewing. We need to provide member value. We've approached the associations and said, whoa, time out. We can be a one-stop shop for you.
Right.
We
I
can
love that.
actually do your annual meeting. We have the technology, the bandwidth, the capabilities. of literally doing your annual meeting. So you don't have to be a Zoom specialist. You don't have to understand breakout rooms. You don't have to. We can do it for you.
And let me inject something. You can inject their people in the platform.
Absolutely.
So when they have their nuts and bolts type stuff that we aren't familiar with as much,
right,
you insert them in, and then you might have an opening speaker, a closing speaker, and that could be one of us.
Absolutely.
Okay, I love that.
And the nice part, because the feedback we're getting from the association is, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Can you help us?
Yes. They're so confused.
Right. So we can bring to life the association meeting, and yes, we can use their people for that content that they want their people for.
You slot people in that have expertise in areas.
But for us as professional speakers, if we have speaker content, like I'm going to make it easy for you. If I have your content, and they want someone as an opening keynote speaker or a closing keynote speaker to really bring life to it and to have fun with it, if I have that content, then we can say, you know what? Don't worry about it. Your meeting's done. We've got everything taken care of. You give us your internal material that we can put into your annual meeting or whatever the conference is that they have set up. We can bring speakers to the table whose content we have automatically ready to be able to go.
And slot it in. Yeah.
And slot it in.
Yeah.
So kind of the purpose behind this call, and thank you so much for being willing to put this out.
Everybody's like me. We're spinning, and we're seeing our clients spinning too.
Right.
So now they're saying, we got to do something. So that's kind of what my approach was. Well, so let's figure out something that's a win-win.
Right.
Yeah.
And from our perspective, it's like, okay, so you could say to me, Chuck, I need you just to record my content. We can record it, and we will make it amazing. Our objective for everything that we do is to make it what I'm going to call Netflix good. Okay. So that if it was pitched to Netflix or Amazon Prime, I'm just using those as easy examples, that somebody would see it and say, wow, that was amazing.
That's
the objective.
It's good. Now let me troubleshoot. What if someone listening is going, okay, what if somebody really wants it live? And we've talked about that. How can you do something to address that?
Okay, so if we're sitting here, and I had this experience, personally I had this experience. New York State Teachers Retirement System wanted a live program, to which I said, okay, part of it will be virtual, recorded, and part of it will be live. And so we had certain segments that was delivered, it was recorded. Literally, I was sitting in this chair, clicked play, and just sat back and watched it go. And then we had parts, okay, now we're going to have a discussion about what you just saw. Bear with me just a second as we change scenes. And literally, in our facility, we went to our switcher, one of the guys, they're a whole lot smarter than I am about this stuff, clicked on the button, and there I am live, literally looking at the screen and carrying on a conversation with them about what we just saw. And when that segment ended, when we needed to move back from live, we said, now wait just a second, I want to go back to the presentation. And we went back to the presentation.
What if I'm at home? Can that happen?
Absolutely.
So you can make it work with me. And this is a big selling point to me for understanding the concept of this, that it can actually have moments of live.
Right.
I love that.
It can have moments of live, and next week we're doing a program that's recorded. And I know this is going to sound a little weird to people, because sometimes we just have to break the boundaries of what we think. It is recorded to look and feel live, but it's not live.
I gotcha.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, you know what you're doing.
I mean, part of it becomes, and again, I did this as well. I did a program, and there were well over 300 people on the program, and they said, we want it live, we want interactivity, but when we thought about the logistics with the meeting planner, it was like, this isn't really going to work that way. But they wanted the feel of it.
Yeah.
So we literally recorded everything and had people text me their answers. But I knew what they were going to say.
Yeah.
So we had pre-recorded it, but literally the people watching it thought it was live.
So we talked about this. So you're going to function sort of like a bureau.
Well, first thing, we function as a producer of the content.
Right, okay.
Because the question becomes, what does the meeting planner think they want?
Right.
What can we help them see that they want?
Okay.
And how do we help the speaker create that?
Gotcha.
Now, that's a production side. But the flip side to it is, we literally have a full-time person that is doing nothing but marketing to associations.
Oh, that's awesome.
For Primeau Productions
Yeah.
to be the production facility for their virtual event. And I call it meetings done. That's the
Okay.
way we're kind of pitching this,
Nice.
which is, we're the people that can do your virtual event, and if you want, this was seamless for you, you don't have to worry about it, your meeting's done, tell us the concepts of what you want, we can connect speaker content with that so that literally it can be done. So yes, we become a virtual speakers bureau for speakers that are working with us.
I love that. So let's talk cost, okay?
Sure.
So tell me what the investment is. You know, we're all having to tighten the belt. And so tell me what you would offer.
It's a tad less than $1 million.
Just a tad.
Well, I'm just sitting there. I want to do some Randy Gage prosperity now. I'm just saying, okay? I got to think big. Okay, so
This is important, of course, you know.
here's
because
here's the practical side.
all right, here's the practical.
Okay, I would say most speakers who have experience and have done a demo reel. I'm not talking
Okay.
about a virtual demo reel, but a
sizzle,
demo reel,
whatever.
sizzle reel, probably has spent from $5,000 to $15,000
Yes.
on a demo reel.
That's correct.
And that's 3 to 5 minutes ish today.
Right.
Okay, so two different approaches for us.
Mm-hmm.
The approach is $5,000, and we will record start to finish edited your hour keynote
Okay.
or training session, whatever it
5,000.
happens.
All right.
Okay,
Okay.
you literally walk away. It is your content. We don't touch it. You have all the rights to it. No problem.
Okay.
Okay, or if you want us to be a bureau for you for our outbound marketing, then we will do the same thing for $2,500,
Oh,
i.e.
cool.
cut it in half.
Yeah.
And it's still your content. So, Jane, you can go out and sell your content to the hundreds and hundreds
Oh,
and
that's
hundreds
a
of
good. That's
people.
good, Chuck.
It's yours.
Yeah.
But if we sell it
Right.
to the people we're actively marketing to, then we'll charge 25% as a speakers bureau.
Okay.
Now,
All right.
as you can imagine, it is in our best interest to create amazing content so that we can sell it to organizations that want us to host their virtual event and create their virtual event.
Right.
So it's a positive for the speaker.
Yes. You get
And
your product.
You get your
And
product,
it's
which
gonna be
is
well
totally
done.
yours.
Right.
And we get the opportunity to put that into our arsenal of content that we can then offer to these associations that will be hosting their events. And just as a side note, we're hosting an event this coming week for Texas educators, North Carolina educators. We've hosted an event for the Center for Disease Control. So
Wow.
we are competent to be able to do what needs to be done.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. So someone that's watching now would literally, they would have to come to Greenville, South Carolina.
They come to the studio.
And you would, they'd stay at a hotel, of course, somewhere. You got them all over these exits, I see. And they would come in and they would slot the time in, and it would be produced, and there you go.
Right.
That's
They own
a
it.
great idea.
They can sell it. It's entirely up to
Yeah.
them. They don't owe us a dime for anything other than us producing it.
Yeah, that's good.
But if they take advantage of the 50% discount, then what happens is if we sell it, then we become a speakers bureau for what we sell, and then we take 25%.
And so the different categories, like if you have an association that is biting on this, and so there are different people that are watching now, and their expertise is A, B, C, D, E. You would have the categorized and say,
Right.
well, we need someone to talk about, like with you, ethics.
Right.
We want to focus in on that, or we need to talk about someone who's an expert in education, maybe a focus on autism. Or I'm just making this up.
Sure.
But you just pull that person and put them in,
Right.
and give the meeting planner an opportunity to select from a group
Right.
what they would like, and the videos would be there for them to pick.
Right.
Which one they would feel would work for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that, and I appreciate that, Chuck, because I think we're all spinning. But I was spinning, And I mean, I did everything, like you said, that you put off and you wanted to like finish books
Sure.
and blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, we're just sort of going, now what? And now I'm seeing that my people are saying, we got to get with this.
Oh, yeah.
We just can't let it ride anymore. We have got to keep our associations educated, motivated, encouraged. We got to do something. We just got to. So this is a great answer, and I appreciate it.
Well, a lot of associations are recognizing, and especially the associations where there are younger people taking over the responsibilities for the meetings and so forth. I mean, let's look at it. It's 2020. We started a new decade. Who thought in 2019 it would be like this? Nobody. But the reality is, it is.
It is.
And by 2030, it's going to be more like this than it's going to be the way it was 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean there won't be live events, but I
Right.
will guarantee you, I will
Yes.
guarantee you within the National Speakers Association
Oh, yeah.
that a lot of the meetings that we've had that were in-person meetings will eventually move virtual because we figure out we can.
That's right.
And I mean, let's be honest with each other. If I was an association meeting planner and I've got to go to a hotel and pay $200 a gallon for a cup of coffee, why?
Oh, I
That's
know.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or $5 for a can of soda. I mean, there's a point at which live meetings will be great and fun, but the industry of what we do is changing, and we've just been taken on the high dive and pushed into the deep end of the pool and said, figure it out. And those people that say, you know what, there's multiple ways to swim, and I can figure out how to swim in this pool and be okay, will be the survivors and the folks that thrive.
That's true. And I think we're looking at the new word is pivot, and another new word is hybrid.
Right.
I think we have to be hybrid. We have to be willing to do either or. And I think maybe as part of NSA, it might be, hey, come to the live national and let's do the virtual workshops. I mean, who knows how this thing is going to pan out? Yeah. So from going forward now that we've shot this, and of course, this is pre-recorded, of course. And so if anyone has comments in the chat on the side of the Zoom, please do that. Do you want to share with folks how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, the easiest thing to do, it's Primeau Productions, but the easiest, simplest way to get in touch with me is just call my cell. It's 828-244-1400. That's 828-244-1400. Operators are standing by. That's me. But the reality of it is, this is not going to be for everybody. I get that.
I get that, yeah.
However, if, again, you want to survive and thrive,
If you think you can do this.
we've got to
Yes.
figure out how to create such an amazing experience on the screen. In fact, I've said there's three things. You got to have great content,
Yes, you do.
okay? You've got to have great audio. People have got to be able to hear it comfortably. But the video side of it is the key. And
is
here's
the
what I
key.
would say. If you're sitting there watching a show at night, okay, whatever it happens to be, if you're watching a show at night, when you see an image on the screen, count 1, 2, 3. By the time you get to 4 or
it's
5,
gone.
that image has
Yes.
changed. Whether we like it or not,
That's true.
it's about visual stimulation.
Yes.
And what we've got to do is create our content in such a visually stimulating way that when people look at it, they're like, oh my gosh, an hour's passed? I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That was all. Ooh, I'd
yeah.
love to have more.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you mentioned that you were going to show a clip of some sort. So
Sure.
you're going to take us to a share screen or
Absolutely.
take us to a live and show a little bit. But that pretty much sums it up.
Yep.
And-
Well, thank you for kind of opening
Yeah.
this door.
Oh my
Now let's
gosh.
see where people want to go, because you can do nothing or
Yeah.
nothing with me. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I won't be offended. You can have us record your content. Happy to do that.
Yeah, and it's
or you
great.
can have us record your content for a lesser price and then let us have the opportunity to work on selling
Yeah.
that, which frankly I think that's the place where it really has potential.
I do too. Thank you, Chuck. This
Pleasure.
is exciting, honey. It's good.
Who would have ever thought a virus could so drastically disrupt our lives and the marketplace? Social distancing has become the norm. Businesses have shut down. And we are all wondering when, if ever, things will return to normal. And what normal is even going to look like now. Remember back to the 1st of January? Celebrating the new year, we were so optimistic, so excited. We were not only bringing in a new year, but a new decade. Business was booming, the economy was growing, and consumers were buying. And in a matter of what seemed like minutes, it all changed. We went from believing this could be our best year on record to wondering if success is even possible now. But believe it or not, there is opportunity even in this marketplace. So much opportunity if you know how to approach it and where to look. As I shared in the last keynote, what you focus on, where you put your energy and time, and how you invest your resources, it's critical now. It can mean the difference between whether you struggle or whether you emerge successful in this uncertain marketplace.
I believe in the sacredness of a promise, that a man's word should be as good as his bond, that character, not wealth or power or position, is of supreme worth. J.D. Rockefeller. What would you give to accomplish your life's one greatest dream? What if it meant spending your entire life working toward that accomplishment, then suddenly, staring you in the face, is the realization of that dream? That huge promise you once made to yourself to prove everyone wrong and make something of your talent. And what if, when the moment came for the realization of your goal, you discover it is morally misaligned with your life's true ambitions? I had one goal: to headline in Las Vegas. As an entertainer, I was on my way and fast. Having already become one of the top one-man show acts in my state of Utah, building my celebrity and making all the right connections, I was well on my way. Within 3 years of beginning my career, I found myself sitting across the table from one of Las Vegas's billionaire hoteliers, who was offering me the fulfillment of my dream. Let's be fair, it wasn't exactly the whole shebang, not right away at least. What I was being offered was to have professional managers, producers, writers, and real showbiz legends take over my career, to mentor and mold me into the performer they needed at their soon-to-be-open mega hotels. As my wife and I drove the 6+ hours to Las Vegas in our Subaru Outback from my grandma's second home in Park City, Utah, which we'd been renting for 3 years, we knew this was our dream coming true. The plan was first to have me go from one casino to another throughout the western United States and perfect my act. We had seen the shows they had produced, and they were the best between Lake Tahoe, Southern California, and Las Vegas. They would lock me in for life. I was to commit my career to their care and tutelage. The vision was drawn before me. Your name will be on taxis, on billboards, at the airport, and on the strip. You just have to listen to our advice, perform what we tell you to, and you'll become the next Danny Gans of Las Vegas. Danny Gans was my hero, a Christian family man working the strip in his own showroom, making over $100 million on his latest contract. Someone who wasn't a household name, but once you saw him, you knew he was the greatest performer you'd ever seen, and he became unforgettable. A clean show for families. The path was possible. Yet sitting there with the lawyers and casino brass, my wife and I flipped through the contract and realized a problem. Las Vegas's family-friendly 1990s theme attempt was no longer what it used to be. In order to make it now, mid-2004, as a non-celebrity in the pre-America's Got Talent era, you would need to make your show what had become the new order in Vegas as of 2003. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. As a boy who grew up in a religious home very devout to my faith, I was living a standard of morality and integrity and expected the same of the family that I was establishing. Therefore, with this contract, I was presented a life-changing decision. do the show necessary for me to make it on the strip and make a windfall of money, become famous, accomplish my dream, or hold my ground? Significant fear washed over me. I knew this was my moment. I thought there could be future moments, but I knew this was the big one. This would be the ultimate culmination of everyone telling me throughout my entire life that all of my dreams and goals were unreachable, unattainable, and I would finally be able to tell them where to go. This was the dream, the Vegas dream, that I had envisioned and worked for and that would set us up for life. I was ecstatic for the change our lives would experience. I knew we would succeed and I would become world famous at such a young age and stage in my career. I knew my wife could quit her job. We would be secure and my performing aspirations would be realized. No more worrying about the next opportunity, if a check might clear, how I would feed my family. No more answering the doubts and questions of every single person as I had for years already regarding my validity, the justification for my hopes. I could just point at a billboard and tell them, yes, things have worked out. Tickets are only $100 per person if you'd like to come, but good luck getting a ticket. It's sold out every night. Boom! This is how I felt. Pure validation, vindication, victory. And then the reality hit as I realized what I would be trading and what could possibly happen if I fell into the patterns those before me had. From my knowledge of the industry and those enjoying the successes that I knew I would upon performing well, it was apparent I would need to fend off every physical and worldly addiction, habit, and downfall that none who went before me had successfully navigated. Even if those typical addictions weren't on my radar, they hadn't been on the checklist for my heroes either. And yet, they still succumbed. What of my family? With no children yet, we could create whatever we wanted whenever we wanted, this new little family of ours. Yet look at those already performing nightly. Not to judge their choices, but it was telling. No one was married to the original spouse with whom they had begun their careers. Few remained in their faith. If the entertainers themselves hadn't fallen into drugs, gambling, and adulterating, their children had grown up with too many luxuries and were ruined for life. The import of the decision for me was mighty. My wife and I discussed every scenario, excited and fearful, willing and able, yet cautious and worried. Let's pause for a moment. What would you do?
In my latest book, Invisible Solutions, I share one of my favorite stories. See, I travel a lot. I travel about 150 days a year. And if you've traveled recently, one of the things you probably noticed is that the allotment for carry-on luggage has gotten so small that in most cases, we need to check our luggage. Now, if you're like I am, you get off of a long flight, last thing you want to do is wait at baggage claim, but we do. So one of the airports here in the US, they did a quick analysis and they found that on average, it took the bags 15 to 20 minutes to get from the plane to the baggage carousel. So what they did was they decided to solve the problem, how can we speed up the bags? How can we speed up the bags? They spent a ton of money on faster conveyor belts, more baggage handlers, newer technology, and they got it from 15 to 20 minutes down to 8 to 10 minutes. That's pretty amazing. If you think about it, if you cut the time down by 50%, you'd probably be popping the champagne and celebrating. But when they asked the passengers what was their biggest complaint, they were still complaining about baggage claim. It still took too long. Now, you're smart people, you know how this works. There's a point of diminishing returns in any investment. If it took them that much time, money, and energy to get it down to 8 minutes, to get it to 7, 6, or 5, would be prohibitively expensive. Then they had an epiphany. They realized that it took the bags 8 to 10 minutes to get from the plane to the baggage carousel, but at this particular airport, it only took the passengers 1 to 3 minutes to get from the plane to the baggage carousel. So what do you think they did? Instead of speeding up the bags, they slowed down the passengers. They literally reconfigured the airport so that it would take, on average, 8 to 10 minutes for the passengers to get from the plane to the baggage carousel. They get to the baggage carousel, their bags are waiting. People are ecstatic. By the way, this is a great upsell opportunity because people are walking past shops and restaurants. Now, we could end the story here, but we can dig a little deeper. One of the things which I love about this example is that it's a powerful way to describe changing a question. Originally, they were solving the problem, how can we speed up the bags? When in fact, really a better question could have been, how can we reduce wait time? Now, when we hear wait time and speed of bags, they sound the same, but they're not identical. Because wait time is made up of the speed of the bags and the speed of the passengers. Here's the point. If you spend your time only trying to speed up bags, you will never think to slow down the passengers. The questions we ask have a profound impact on the range of solutions. Any question you're working on, any problem you are trying to solve, subtle changes to the question can have a huge impact on the range of solutions that you develop. And when you read Invisible Solutions, you will be given 25 different ways to take any problem you're trying to solve and look at it from a different angle. And in doing so, you'll be able to solve nearly any difficult business problem because you're going to look at the problem from an angle you've never considered before.